Hi, this is Katish from Reclaim Your Life with Katish, the channel on YouTube for you to stay in touch with everything related to perimenopause and menopause. In this video, I have the privilege of interviewing Maria from Ceders Gin. One of the things that I noticed immediately upon coming into perimenopause was that my body processed alcohol in a different way, and that I found personally when I drank alcohol, when I do drink alcohol, depending upon where I am in my actual cycle, it will have the added effect of bringing on a hot flush. So by the time I've had a few sips of a glass of wine or some kind of alcoholic beverage, I can be covered in sweat and feel very agitated and frustrated, and that is the exact opposite to the relaxation response. When you're in perimenopause, you tend to put on extra weight very quickly, and so one of the things that I found was that I would have my normal wines and I have quite quickly put on an extra 5 kilos without changing my consumption habits. So it was really important to me to be extra mindful about what I was putting in my mouth. So cutting back on the alcohol has become particularly important for me. The other thing that a lot of people find in perimenopause is that having an alcoholic beverage can lead to insomnia. And I do find that when I kick back with a couple of wines while I'm watching a movie or something, that quite often I have difficulty falling asleep, or I wake up in the middle of the night, whereas I wouldn't have before. Previously, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you would find that alcohol was a relaxing way to drift off into sleep, whereas now in my 40s, I'm finding that it kicks into the insomnia factor. So I think that for women in perimenopause, an alternative beverage, a non-alcoholic gin, is a fabulous idea to help you still enjoy and not feel like you're missing out, because what you have is equally as good and tasty as an alcoholic gin or an alcoholic beverage. All right, Maria, thank you so much for coming on today. I just wanted to ask you how it started that you got into making a non-alcoholic gin. What happened in your life, and did you have I understand you had a background in vodka, and your husband and yourself met while working, was it for Absolute Vodka?
Yeah, so I met my husband Craig. It's about 10 years ago now. So we met actually working for Absolute Vodka, for the company Pernod Ricard, and so we do have a background in drinks. And coming back to your questions about non-alcoholic gin or our brand Ceders, it actually started in 2016. So it was when I was pregnant with with our first child. That's kind of a moment in time when you, in your adult life, when you're not allowed, you can't have alcohol, and that's when I really realized how very limited the drink options were. If you don't drink alcohol, you're kind of reduced to having water, or best case scenario, you'll have a orange juice with a straw in it, and it just didn't feel right. You know, we still enjoyed going out to restaurants and going to people's house, socializing, and you still want to have that sophisticated adult drink experience. So that was kind of a moment in time when we really realized. And I should mention as well that Craig actually decided to join me in not drinking any alcohol through my pregnancy. So which was very, very kind of him. So we, I think that was a long 9 months of drinking a lot of apple juice and tonic, and that's when we started talking. You know, can we do something here? There seems to be a space and a place for a new product here.
And what's the connection with the Cederberg Mountains and the particular botanicals? Why did you choose the South African botanicals?
So Craig's from South Africa, so he's from Cape Town, and so the Cederberg Mountains is this beautiful mountain range about 2 hours drive outside of Cape Town, and I always say that it's Craig's happy place. He he grew up going there a lot, going for a lot of hikes, spending a lot of time there, and it's always been a dream to own some land there. So early 2017, so just after our son was born, we went to Cape Town for a holiday, and this piece of land came up, and Craig rushed down to the Cederberg to see it, and he basically came back home to Cape Town and said that he bought it. So we then started looking at it's very well, it's very sunny and dry, being in South Africa, so there's not a lot of things that grow there. There's some citrus that grow, but also some of these botanicals. And so I guess we started looking at this property and the botanicals that grew there, and we said, you know, we didn't buy the property, wasn't a commercial purchase, but we said, you know, is there something that we could do with these? And they're very kind of hard, earthy, beautiful botanicals. So a gin came to mind, but then of course the alcoholic gin space out there's pretty much 20 gins, I think, launching every week, at least here in the UK. So it felt like a very crowded space. And then in addition to that, Craig still wasn't drinking, so he decided to continue with not drinking after our son was born. And we had this experience where we felt that there just wasn't any good non-alcoholic drink options out there. So we said, you know, maybe we could look at incorporating these beautiful botanicals in a non-alcoholic drink, and more importantly, or more specifically, in a non-alcoholic gin, because well, if you know and love your gins, you know that a lot of gins have a lot of different beautiful botanicals in them. So that's kind of where our journey started, and how we started experimenting, and having this background in alcohol, having worked in the alcohol industry for many years. We also had a lot of really amazing, talented contacts within the industry. So when we started experimenting, we were able to reach out and ask, you know, how could this be done, and or can it be done?
Yes, absolutely. And just very quickly, I understand that the difference between the production process for the Ceders gin, and which is a non-alcoholic, and a normal gin, is that with the Ceders gin you've got up to 18 different ingredients, botanical ingredients, and you need to individually either distill or distract or macerate the various botanicals, and then combine them with the Swedish spring water. That's correct? That's how you make it?
Yeah, so it's we quite often get the questions about, you know, how do you produce it, and what's the difference between an alcoholic gin, and there are quite a lot of big differences, and I think I dare to say that it is more, in general, that it is more complicated to produce a non-alcoholic spirit or gin than it is to produce an alcoholic one. So where you often, when you produce an alcoholic gin, you're able to take all your beautiful botanicals and your juniper, and you can combine them and put them all in a still together with alcohol, ethanol, and extract all your flavors. What we have to do is that we individually as you mentioned, we distill, extract, or macerate our ingredients and botanicals. And then once we have the concentrated form of that, we then mix it all together. Craig often says it's almost a bit like a very delicate baking process. You take a little bit of or just the right amount of all your different ingredients and botanicals. You mix them in a still with Swedish water. So we produce in Sweden, and the reason for that is because I'm Swedish. And I think I dare to claim that Sweden has some of the best water in the world. I might be a bit biased there, but and so again, this is also about kind of combining our I guess our backgrounds and our love for nature. So we use a lot of the botanicals from the Cederberg from Craig's home country in South Africa, and then we produce in Sweden with marrying it together with Swedish water. So it's a bit like blending our two backgrounds.
So it's a very pure and botanical product, isn't it? Very good for you in comparison to drinking an alcoholic beverage, in terms of kind to the body and kind to the mind, and giving yourself mindful moments.
Yeah, and I think there is something to that moment when you're making yourself an alcoholic drink, or that moment when you're kind of making yourself a drink, which always used to be alcoholic. You know, you have your favorite glass, you put some ice in it, you pour your spirit of choice in, and then you mix it with something, and you put a little lovely slice of orange or a garnish with it, and then you sit down and enjoy that kind of end of day cocktail. And we both really, we love our gins, and we've always liked that moment. You know, in South Africa they call it sundowners, and you know, I'm sure there's various terms across the globe for that moment, that drink, you know, end of the day drink. And it's just, we really feel that everybody should be able to have that moment, and that you should still be able to have a good, sophisticated adult drink moment, even if you choose not to have alcohol. Because even if you have an alcoholic drink once in a while, or you know, that's not so bad. But if you start having it every day, or maybe even 2 or 3, you know, that will have an impact. That will impact your sleeping and your eating, and it's just, we just feel that you should be able to treat yourself to that moment without having the potential negative side effects of having alcohol.
So Maria, my favourite of the Cederberg range is the Wild. Here in Australia we have the Wild and the Classic, and I just really love this one because it's very refreshing here when it's a 43 or 42 degree day. It's just so hot, and it's really lovely to come home and have a Cedars Wild, because I find that with the Cedars gin, if you're like me, somebody who has come from aromatherapy background, what happens is that we quite often, and a wine marketing background, not a winemaker, but I worked in the Hunter Valley and a number of the Australia's wine regions for quite a few years, and I'm very big on understanding the role of aroma with the relaxation response. So how it works is that if your brain is used to a particular aroma and it associates that with relaxation, then you only need to smell that aroma for your body to actually go in and to kick off the relaxation response. So for example, the main ingredient is juniper berry in all gins, and for anyone that is used to drinking an alcoholic gin that is used to the juniper berry smell, then all you have to do is to smell the juniper berry that's coming out of the bottle of Cedars gin, and it activates the relaxation response immediately. And I think that a lot of people don't realize the power of our nose in creating a relaxation response. So what I wanted to show people was just really how you make my favorite way of making a Cedars gin. And I will confess that it's really quite simple. You don't need, as we were talking about off camera earlier, you don't need any fancy equipment. All you need is your beautiful glass Ceders bottle. I'm using a Panadol or Nurofen measuring cup from the kids, so you don't need a fancy one, as you said. And we just want to pour 50 mils, so that's 20, 40, and you can't see the glass, it's off screen, sorry, 50. So I've got my lovely glass here. Okay, put that in. Now it's typical to use tonic water. I don't have tonic water with me here today. I have mineral water, but you can use whatever mixer you like. I know that you specifically chose tonic water because that's the mouthfeel you were saying to me off camera earlier, that you associated with enjoying the actual relaxing process of having a gin prior to having your children. The tonic water creates part of the mouthfeel experience of a gin. But if you don't like tonic water, then you can use your soda water or mineral water. So I've got some basil leaves here, which are from my garden. Not so bountiful at the moment because we have a little bit of a cricket explosion happening in the garden. So they've eaten most of my basil bush, but just a couple of leaves is all you need, or you can grab some next time you're in the supermarket. And I've got orange here today. There's no grapefruit around at the moment, so just a wedge of orange. So put that in there. And then all you need to do is grab your ice. So being a Queenslander, I like lots and lots of ice. And your mineral water, or your tonic water, or soda water, or however you want. And there you have is your Ceders Wild Gin. And in the Ceders Wild Gin, the ingredients, as we mentioned, are juniper, clove, and rooibos. Now, as you mentioned to me earlier in the discussion off screen, rooibos is grown exclusively in South Africa, I believe, and in Australia here we have lots of South Africans, and so we Aussies have got used to drinking rooibos tea, and so the rooibos gives a lovely flavour profile with the gin, with the juniper berry. And also you're explaining to me that the rooibos can be quite powerful, so it is carefully distilled. And also one of the other ingredients that you were mentioning earlier was the bushu, which is grown in the Cederberg mountain region as well. So on the Cederberg Alt Gin website and the Facebook and the Instagram account is a range of different cocktail ideas that you can try out. And the benefit of the Ceders Gin, as we discussed off screen, was that there is no sugar, so it's only your mixer that's going to have the sugar content. So the gin is a sugar-free experience, so that helps also with that, keeping the calories down. It's only 2 calories when you're making a drink, so that helps also, especially in these times when we're all in lockdown and we may be consuming a little bit more through emotional eating than we otherwise had done before. So just a really refreshing way to enjoy a drink that your olfactory system can immediately identify with as a relaxation response, and it kicks in and it just helps you get calm without the alcohol.
The mindful drinking movement even further and show people that there are other good options. So whether you want to have one drink and then move on to a non-alcoholic drink, or you don't want to drink at all, you should still be as included. I guess the dream is that in 5 years time, or even if it's 10 years time, if you walk into a bar or a supermarket or a liquor store, you should have as many choices of non-alcoholic drink options as there are alcoholic drink options, and it shouldn't be a big deal if you choose to have a non-alcoholic drink. It should be just as if, you know, one person likes vodka, another person likes gin. So that's kind of that's the dream.
And I can hear the baby in the background. Our viewers don't know that you're a new mum. You've got a 3-year-old and a little 6-month-old baby. So I'll take my Cedars Wild, which I've mixed with orange and basil, and I'll toast you and thank you, Maria, for joining us today from London and telling us about Cedars. And we wish you all the very best, and we look forward to following you on social media and grabbing some recipes from the website, and really enjoying the moments of missing out rather than fearing missing out, but taking time to enjoy ourselves and that quiet solitude while we all are in lockdown, and taking care of our health, and just really looking at some alternatives for the way that we consume beverages in our lifestyle. So thank you so much for your time today. And we are very excited about the future, and hope that you come out to Australia next year or the year after when everything's all settled down.
Yeah, well, no, definitely, and I just want to echo that as well, because I think that, you know, while, you know, this while everybody is in lockdown at the moment, or a lot of people are, you know, there is of course the potential that maybe some people do have that moment, a little bit too many moments a week of having that drink, to also maybe to still some anxiety, and I just worry that, you know, I hope that some people might find a non-alcoholic option once in a while instead as well, just to kind of mix it up a bit, because I think we just all need to like really take care of ourselves, and try to practice a bit of mindfulness as much as we can, although it can be tough, but yeah.